Hey everyone, welcome to the Bold and Beautiful 24. I'm Alessio, and I'm so excited to have you here. If you love Bold and Beautiful, then you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Alright, let's dive right in.
Deke throws Hope for a loop, and Luna blows Finn's mind, not once but twice. Taylor and Ridge argue at Forrester over Luna not being dead, and they are concerned about Steffy having to deal with this insane situation. Taylor is concerned that if Luna is carrying Will's child, she will have all control at this point. Ridge moans, "I'll be tied to her forever." At the very least, Finn refuses to let her back into his life. Down in the showroom, Hope watches models walk the runway and stops to chat with them about hope for the future's return. Just then Deke appears. Hope embraces her brother as they talk about how much they miss each other. Hope Deke bed and breakfast. Hope knows Deke just graduated from design school and wants to pick his brain. He's thrilled. As the models leave, Hope questions her brother about his return to town. "Is there a new guy in your life?" Deke flashes Remy and asks not to be mentioned. He confesses he has a roommate, but refuses to provide his identity. Returning to work, Hope wants to know where Deke would take Hope for the future. Her brother admits that he prefers urban chic over boho chic, creating an awkward situation. When he proposes that her collection show her maturity, Hope decides he's an outstanding guy and wonders, "Maybe you are back in town for a reason." We're guessing he'll be her next designer. Deke Hope bed and breakfast. Can Elektra stay the course? In the Forrester living room, Elektra and Will confess their love. Naturally, the conversation quickly turns to Luna and her pregnancy. Will intends to continue praying the baby isn't his. He is certain Luna cannot touch their love. Elektra laments the ruination of their first, lovely night together. This is not the life she envisioned or desired. Will regrets putting her through this. He'd do anything to keep Elektra from experiencing this misery. Will promises they'll go through this together. More. Why Carter's separation was the best thing that happened to him. Will Luna let Finn speak up? Finn stammers to Luna in his office. You're alive." He is surprised to learn that his mother kept her alive. Luna prods him to admit that her survival is a miracle. Finn BNB. Luna, beaming at Finn and sounds delusional, urges her father to express his happiness that she is still alive. Finn just stares at her. Luna blows his mind again by giggling and telling him she has good news for him. "You're going to be a grandpa." He tries to get out. This is extremely surprising. New. Luna twist leaves fans angry. Luna boldly assures Finn that she will provide this child a much better life than she was given. Finn astounds her by wondering how she will accomplish that from behind bars. "You used a gun on Steffy, Luna. You shot Sheila and Liam." Luna protests. She has been granted another opportunity. She wants this baby above anything else. It's Will Spencer's baby. Finn frowns, trying to process everything. It was one of those mornings at Forrester where everything felt off. Like the air itself was charged with tension no one quite wanted to acknowledge. The fashion house looked as glamorous as ever, the showroom bustling with models and stylists, but somewhere beneath the bright lights and camera flashes, there was a storm brewing. Upstairs, Taylor stood near the large window of Ridge's office, arms crossed tight across her chest, her reflection mirroring the exhaustion and dread in her eyes. Ridge paced like a caged lion behind her, running a hand through his hair, as though that could somehow make sense of the chaos they'd been thrown into. Luna. She wasn't dead. She was very much alive. And worse, she was about to turn their entire world upside down again. Taylor's voice was soft but heavy, the kind of voice that trembled because it carried the weight of too many unspoken fears. "Ridge, if Luna really is pregnant with Will's baby, she's holding all the cards right now. All of them." Ridge grunted in frustration, slamming his palm on the edge of the desk, not in anger toward Taylor but at the situation itself. "She'll have him tied to her forever," he muttered bitterly. "No matter how much Will or anyone else tries to escape it, she'll always be a part of this family now. A connection you can't just sever." Taylor turned to face him fully, her blue eyes steady even as her stomach twisted in knots. "At least Finn won't let her back into his life," she said with a hint of hope, almost like she needed to believe it more than she actually did. Ridge gave a dry laugh, shaking his head, because they both knew it wasn't that simple. Nothing with Luna ever was. Down in the showroom, the atmosphere was completely different. It was brighter, lighter, on the surface at least. Hope stood with her hands clasped together, smiling as the models strutted down the runway in their new pieces for hope for the future. It was one of those moments that gave her a sense of control, even if her personal life was falling apart piece by piece. She had her fashion line, her vision, her work. It was her safe space. She stopped to gush with the models, complimenting the drape of a fabric here, the flow of a skirt there, sharing soft, encouraging words that made everyone around her feel like a part of something beautiful. But that fragile little bubble of calm shattered the second she heard a familiar voice behind her say, "Hey sis." She spun around so fast her heart skipped a beat. Standing there, looking a little older but still carrying that same mischievous grin, was Deke. Hope's eyes widened, and before either of them could say another word, she practically threw herself into his arms. It had been too long. Too many missed calls. Too many years of complicated family history. "Oh my God, Deke," she whispered against his shoulder, squeezing him like she didn't want to let go. He laughed softly, hugging her just as tightly, and for a moment, it felt like everything else in the world faded away. They pulled back just enough to look at each other properly. Hope's face was glowing, her smile bright and genuine. "I can't believe you're here," she said. "What are you doing back in town?" Deke smirked, shoving his hands into his pockets in that laid-back way of his. "You didn't think I'd let you have all the fashion fun without me, did you?" he teased. Hope's laughter rang through the room, light and warm, before she shook her head at him. "You're ridiculous," she said, then added. "But seriously, I know you just graduated from design school, so I might have to pick your brain a little." He raised an eyebrow, feigning mock importance. "Oh, so now I'm suddenly useful," he joked. Hope rolled her eyes, but her grin gave her away. As the models filed out of the showroom, leaving the siblings alone, Hope leaned against one of the mannequins and asked again, "Why now, Deke? Why come back?" That question hit him a little differently. He wasn't expecting to be cornered so quickly. He rubbed the back of his neck, flashing briefly to a memory he'd tried to keep buried. Remy's voice whispering, "Don't mention me." His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, but Hope caught it. "I've got a roommate," he finally admitted, but when she pressed for a name, he just shrugged, deflecting like he always did when things got too close to the truth. "Doesn't matter," he said quickly. "What matters is I'm here now." Hope decided not to push. Instead, she circled the conversation back to something she could control, her work. "So," she said, her eyes sparkling with curiosity, "what would you do with Hope for the future?" Deke's entire face changed when he started talking about design. He came alive. His hands moved as he spoke, his voice steady, confident. "I mean, it's good, don't get me wrong," he said. "But I'm not into this whole boho chic thing you've got going on. It's cute, but it's a little safe, don't you think?" Hope raised a brow, not used to people critiquing her brand so bluntly, but also secretly liking the honesty. "Safe?" she repeated, almost teasing him. "Yeah," Deke said, leaning forward slightly. "You're not the same girl you were when you started this. You've grown. You've been through stuff. The collection should reflect that. It should show your maturity. Urban chic. Edgy. Real." Hope blinked, caught off guard not just by his insight but by how right it sounded. She tilted her head, studying him like she was seeing her brother for the first time in a long while. "You really have changed," she whispered. "Maybe you're back for a reason after all." It was one of those quiet moments in which unspoken possibilities hovered between them. Maybe Deke wasn't just back to visit. Maybe this was the beginning of something bigger, for both of them. Meanwhile, across the hall in the Forrester living room, the mood was far from light. Electra sat on the couch, legs curled beneath her, looking small despite the elegant setting. Will sat beside her, holding her hand like it was the only thing tethering him to reality. Their conversation didn't need preamble. It was always there, simmering, pressing down on both of them like a weight they couldn't shake. "Luna," Electra finally whispered, the name like poison on her tongue. Will sighed, dragging a hand over his face. "I'm praying, Electra," he said softly. I'm praying that baby isn't mine. Electra let out a shaky laugh that sounded more like a sob. You think prayer can fix this? She said bitterly. You think it can erase what happened? We'll turn to her desperate. She can't touch us, he said firmly, as if saying it enough times might make it true. She can't destroy what we have. Electra shook her head, her hair falling in front of her face. Our first night together, she whispered. It was supposed to be magic. It was supposed to be the start of everything. And now this, she broke off, voice trembling, eyes glassy. Will's heart clenched at the sight. He reached out and cupped her cheek, forcing her to look at him. I'll do anything to make this right, he promised. Anything. I hate that you're hurting because of something I did, but we're going to get through this. Together. She stared at him for a long moment, and though her heart was aching, she wanted to believe him. Needed to. While love was being tested in the living room, something entirely different was unfolding in Finn's office. Finn sat frozen behind his desk, his usually calm and composed demeanor shattered into wide-eyed disbelief. The woman standing in front of him wasn't supposed to be there. She wasn't supposed to be alive. But Luna was there, her dark hair falling loosely around her shoulders, a wild kind of light in her eyes. You're alive, Finn finally managed to stammer, his voice barely above a whisper. Luna's lips curved into a soft, almost smug smile. Surprise, she breathed out, as if coming back from the dead was nothing more than an unexpected party entrance. She stepped closer, her voice warm, almost unnervingly bright. It's a miracle, isn't it? She said, her eyes glistening. Your mother kept me alive. She saved me, Finn. I'm here. I'm alive. Finn's heart thudded against his chest like a drum. It didn't make sense. None of it made sense. He had mourned her. He had built an entire wall around the trauma she caused. And now here she was, standing in his office like a ghost who had decided to stick around. Luna, he started, but his voice faltered. She tilted her head, studying his face with that same unsettling calm. Aren't you happy to see me? She asked softly. Say you're happy I'm alive. Finn couldn't find the words. He just stared at her, caught between relief, rage, and sheer disbelief. And then, as if coming back from the dead wasn't shocking enough, Luna's grin widened, and she practically bounced on her heels. I have some really exciting news, she giggled, the sound so out of place in that cold, tense room. You're going to be a grandpa. Finn's brain short-circuited. He blinked once, twice, trying to process what she'd just said. I'm sorry, he finally blurted out. You're what? Luna laughed again, like this was the most natural thing in the world. I'm pregnant, she said brightly. Isn't it amazing? Finn leaned back in his chair, the weight of her words pressing down on him like a lead blanket. This is extremely surprising, he said slowly, each word carefully measured. Luna didn't seem to notice or care about his hesitation. She was glowing, almost euphoric. I'm going to give this little one a better life than I ever had, she declared. A life full of love. No one's going to take that away from me. But then Finn's face hardened. He stood up, his eyes narrowing as reality came crashing back. How are you going to do that, Luna? He asked quietly. How are you going to raise a baby from behind bars? That hit her like a slap. Her smile faltered, her breath catching. What? She whispered. Finn's voice rose, controlled but edged with steel. You pulled a gun on Steffy, he reminded her. You shot Sheila. You shot Liam. You nearly destroyed everything. Luna shook her head desperately. I've been given another chance, she said quickly, tears brimming in her eyes. This is my second chance, Finn. I want this baby. I want this life. I'm not that girl anymore. Finn stared at her, his heart twisting even as his mind screamed at him not to fall for it. It's Will Spencer's baby, she added, her voice trembling but firm. Finn froze again. Of course. Will. Another bombshell. Another disaster waiting to explode. He dragged his hands over his face, trying to process the avalanche of emotions. He didn't trust Luna, not after everything she'd done. But she was pregnant. She was standing there, alive, and about to pull every string she could to get exactly what she wanted. And no matter what anyone said, this was going to change everything. Again. And somewhere outside that office, as the sun dipped lower in the sky and the world at Forrester kept spinning, Everyone, Ridge, Taylor, Hope, Electra, Will and Finn, knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Luna had blown Finn's mind not once, but twice. First with her resurrection, then with her pregnancy, and now, with Will caught in the crossfire, and Hope standing unknowingly at the edge of a new chapter with Deke. The stage was set for chaos, heartbreak, and consequences no one could fully see coming yet. Finn stood frozen in that office long after Luna's words had sunk in, the silence between them thick and suffocating. For a man who'd spent years saving lives, who'd seen the unimaginable in hospital corridors, nothing had ever rattled him quite like this. Luna wasn't supposed to be standing here. She wasn't supposed to be breathing, smiling, speaking. And she definitely wasn't supposed to be pregnant. His pulse thundered in his ears, a dull roar he couldn't silence. He could still see the flash of that night in his mind. Sirens, chaos, gunfire, and the brutal sound of lives being ripped apart. He'd been told she didn't make it. He'd forced himself to accept it. And now suddenly all that pain, all that anger, all that grief, was standing right in front of him with a baby on the way. Luna's eyes softened as she watched him, like she expected him to sweep her into his arms, call her miracle, forgive everything, and start over. "Dad," she whispered, the word cutting through the room like glass. "This is a good thing. It's a second chance for me, for us." But Finn wasn't ready to call it that. He leaned forward on his desk, gripping the edges until his knuckles turned white. "You think walking back into my life like this makes everything okay?" His voice cracked, not with weakness but with years of buried betrayal. "You think a baby erases what you did? Luna, you shot Sheila. You pointed a gun at Steffy. You almost killed Liam." Her lips trembled as she took a hesitant step closer, her hands resting protectively on her stomach. "I didn't mean for any of it to happen," she pleaded softly. "I was scared. I was desperate. But I'm alive, Dad. That means something. It has to." Finn closed his eyes, letting the weight of it crush him for a moment before he opened them again, sharp and clear. "You're alive because my mother kept you hidden," he said slowly. "She lied to me. She let me grieve for you. Do you have any idea what that did to me? To Steffy?" Luna blinked rapidly, like she hadn't expected him to come at her with that much force. She bit down on her lower lip, fighting back tears that she clearly wanted him to interpret as remorse. I thought you'd be happy I survived," she whispered. "I thought we could fix this." Finn's laugh was hollow, jagged. "Fix this?" he repeated. "There's no fixing this, Luna. You don't get to disappear, shoot people, and then walk back in like nothing happened. Life doesn't work that way." Outside the office, down the hallway, Steffi's heels clicked against the polished floors as she made her way toward Finn. She'd received his text. 3 simple words that sent her entire body into shock. "She's alive. Come." She didn't even bother asking who she was. Deep down she already knew. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she pushed open the door, and the sight before her nearly brought her to her knees. Luna. Flesh and blood. Alive. Standing there with a soft smile and a hand over her stomach. Steffi's breath caught in her throat, a wave of nausea hitting her so hard she gripped the doorframe. "No," she whispered, shaking her head in disbelief. No. This isn't real." Luna turned toward her with a kind of calmness that made Steffi want to scream. "Hi, Steffi," Luna said softly, like they were old friends meeting for coffee. "I missed you." The audacity. Steffi's eyes widened, and a sharp, bitter laugh escaped her lips before she could stop it. "Missed me," she spat. "You tried to kill me." Finn immediately moved toward Steffi, his hand hovering near her arm like he wasn't sure if she'd crumble or swing. "Steffi," he said gently, "I was just about to." "Explain?" Steffi cut him off sharply. "Explain what, Finn?" "That the woman who nearly destroyed our lives is standing here smiling like she just came back from a vacation." Luna flinched but didn't back down. "I didn't destroy anything," she said quickly, her voice shaking. "I was broken, Steffi. I was lost. But I'm here now. I survived and I'm going to be a mom." Her hand instinctively rubbed her belly, and the word struck Steffi like a sucker punch to the chest. "You're what?" Steffi choked out. Finn stepped forward, his voice low. "She's pregnant," he confirmed quietly. The room tilted for Steffi. Of all the possible outcomes, This was the one she hadn't let herself imagine. Not only was Luna alive, she was carrying Will Spencer's child. Another Spencer baby. Another tie to their world she didn't want or need. Ridge was the next to find out. By the time Finn called him upstairs, his father's fury was already simmering. Ridge slammed open the office door like a storm in human form. Taylor right behind him, her expression tight but controlled. "Where is she?" Ridge growled. And when he saw Luna, all the years of barely contained frustration erupted. "You have some nerve showing up here," he snapped, his voice cutting like a blade. Taylor moved to Steffi's side, gently placing a hand on her shoulder as if to steady her. "Luna," Taylor said quietly, her voice softer than Ridge's but just as firm. "This isn't the way to make amends. You can't expect forgiveness just because you're standing here breathing." Luna's eyes filled with tears, but there was also a flicker of stubbornness there. A dangerous mix that reminded everyone of why she had been a ticking time bomb before. "I didn't come here to beg," she said shakily. "I came here because I have a right to be heard. I have a right to live my life. I'm not a monster. I'm not." Ridge scoffed loudly. "You're not a monster," he repeated. "You pulled a gun on my daughter, Luna. You put my family through hell. And now you're pregnant? What, you think that's going to make people forget?" "It's not about forgetting," Luna shot back, her voice cracking. "It's about moving forward."